Hi, folks. Steve Urban here. Today's episode of the Riderflex podcast is sponsored by Marketing 360. My good friend JB Kellogg and his team do such a fantastic job for us and so many other companies. Marketing 360 is the number one platform for small business, and it's everything you need to grow your business. If you need marketing support, I really encourage you to contact them at marketing360.com/Riderflex, and we'll add that link to the description of this episode for easy reference. On today's episode of the Riderflex podcast, we have guest Rob Davidson, the CEO of Cure Pharmaceutical, a vertically integrated drug delivery and development company with a proprietary formulation and delivery platform called Cure Form. Rob and his team are committed to developing new ways to deliver and experience medicines, supplements, and cosmetics. Rob Davidson on the Riderflex podcast. How you doing, Rob?
Doing great. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there, man. You know, we're recording this on May 15th, right? 2020. So for the listeners that might hear this a year from now, we're kind of, we're still in the coronavirus situation. I'd like to think we're in the second half or maybe the fourth quarter of it. I hope. I don't know, but I'm hanging in there considering. How about yourself?
Good. Likewise. Yeah, I'm hoping we're in the last quarter as well, or second half, whatever sport you like. But absolutely, it's been a long, I think, trying time.
It has, bro. I'm so ready to go to happy hour with other human beings besides my wife. I mean,
Have you tried the virtual happy hours with any of the friends or anything like that, or
I have.
not the same?
It's not the same. It was weird. I thought, okay, this is kind of cool because I don't have to worry about having too many drinks and driving home. So I like that part of
It's
it.
the positive, yes.
There's a silver lining, but it's still not quite the same, right? Because when you're at happy hour with your friends, I don't know about you, but I'm always kind of people watching and who else is in here, and
Absolutely, yeah.
check her out, check him out, and what's the deal with that person, and wow, that bartender, she's kind of cute or whatever, just small talk, like I miss all that anyway. But I miss getting together with other humans. I got a little tavern that's like 5 blocks from my house where me and some buddies go, and I can promise you the day that opens, it will be slammed.
It'll be slammed, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That makes sense to me. You know what I miss the most, though, is actually being in a tavern or watching sports, right?
Yes.
The sporting events. It's just, that's tough for me not to have that. So I can't wait for something. I've watched enough reruns and, NFL greatest hits, I'm ready to get into the real games again. So
speaking of sports and not be able to watch anything, I see the Jordan jersey behind you.
Yeah, Michael Jordan, yeah, one of the best, I think.
Oh, I think the best. By the way, did you see the ESPN's running that? What is that?
Yes, I haven't seen it yet, but I definitely want to watch it. I know what you're talking about, the Michael Jordan documentary. Yeah. I heard it's really good.
They're running it because there's nothing else to run.
There's nothing else on. Yeah, exactly. You'll see a lot more documentaries if this keeps going. That's for sure.
No doubt. Well, hey, listen, man. Give the listeners a little history about Rob before we get into Cure. Just where'd you grow up, and some family stuff, if you don't mind. Go ahead, tell us.
Not at all. No, I grew up in New York, mainly on Long Island. So it's a Long Island outside of the Manhattan area, and a little bit more secluded, not big, tall buildings. Nice small town called Holbrook.
Okay.
So pretty far east, Long Island. I don't know if you know Long Island, but
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Grew up there. Really did a lot of different, things during school, paper route, landscaping. Wintertime, I had my own shoveling snow business, if you will, snow removal.
Early entrepreneur.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny because a lot of people ask me, what your first job was. I've actually never worked for anyone. I've always started my own companies and did my own business. But yeah, my dad was a New York City police officer. My mom drove a school bus. I think I'm the first one in my family to graduate with a college degree, or several of them.
Wow.
So I've been lucky. I've been pretty
Excellent.
motivated, and so I'm lucky. Now married. I have 2 kids and a grandson. I have a 28-year-old son, and a grandson, and I also have a daughter that's 18, going to the University of Hawaii.
Nice.
Fun stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
I'm
Now,
done. I have no young kids running around right now, so I did it early, got it out of the way.
amen, bro. Same for me. I'm an empty nester, 53 years old. I love
There
it.
you go.
I
Love
mean,
it. Yeah,
I love my kids. Don't get me wrong, but boy,
yeah.
it's sure is nice to
It's
spend
great.
money.
It's great when they visit it.
Right, 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 right. It's so awesome.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
always tell my friends, I'm like, listen, me and my wife are spending money on us now. It's super awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
How old's your grandson?
He is going to be 2 next month. So yeah,
I
so pretty
cannot
excited.
believe we have the. Okay, so first thing you told me was, hey, we're the same age. Did you graduate high school in '85?
I did. Yeah. 85.
Holy
That's
shit!
right.
I
Yeah.
can't believe it. Me too.
Yeah.
85.
Yeah.
And my granddaughter will be 2 years old August 11th.
Wow.
August 11th.
Wow. Okay. All right. Congrats. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Isn't it
Now,
cool?
is that a son or a daughter that had
Yeah,
the?
my son. Yep,
All
yep. My
right.
son had Rose. She'll be to our only grandchild. And
Great.
isn't it cool? Now, at first, when people were like, "Oh, you're a grandpa or you're a grandfather," I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I like how that sounds."
No,
But
it did not ring well. But yeah.
what are you called? What's your quote name?
Oh
What are you
yeah,
gonna?
that's a good one actually. Yeah, it's not grandpa.
Okay, yeah,
It's
no,
it's pops. Yeah, papa.
pops. Okay,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
close. Mine's Papa.
All
Mine's
right.
Papa.
Yeah, there you go.
I
Look at
didn't know
that.
that. I didn't know that was going to be a big deal until I had to. We had to talk about. Okay, my daughter-in-law's parents, and what are you going to be called? And I remember thinking, what do we have? Like, we got to have like a conference about this. Well, how do we decide who's going to be called what? Like the other grandparents. Anyway. So okay. So early entrepreneur. But let's go back. I appreciate you going into the papa star or the grandparent stuff,
Of
but let's
course.
go back now. In high school, you were an early entrepreneur. You were doing some stuff. Walk us into how you decided what school to go to and kind of what you thought you wanted to do or what you wanted to be. Walk us through some of that period.
Which day?
uh,
It was never a clear path for me, to be honest. I was all over the place. So I went to different schools. College. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Changed my major probably, I don't know, 7 times maybe. Just
okay.
really, really knew I wanted to educate myself, but really never knew what I honestly wanted to do. Still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
I hear you.
But that being said, I did my undergrad in biological sciences,
Okay.
basically pre-med biological sciences, and then continued to go to school just as I went to school for things I was interested in,
Okay.
not because I thought it would get me a job, because obviously I always had my own businesses.
Yep.
So I studied as much as possible, mainly in the wellness field, and the sciences. And then I did do a stint in Cambridge University in England.
I saw that. I bet that was
Yeah,
cool. But that was
it
cool.
was cool for them to, I mean, I don't know how I got in there. I mean, I mean, seriously, yeah, something. I'm like,
Right.
yeah, they let
Now,
me in. That was nice of them. And, I had a great time there and learning sustainability sciences,
now you weren't married.
agriculture.
You weren't married when you were
I
there, were you?
was, yeah, yeah. A lot of my schooling was done when I was married. Yeah, I was a
How-
late. I stopped. I did so many stops and goes on schooling. I probably have
Okay.
more credit. I have enough credits to get a lot of degrees, but I just never finished those degrees, if you would. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I was all over the place.
Okay, but you were obviously interested in learning, very curious, wanted to learn, wanted to
Absolutely. Read a lot
okay.
of books, just kept on reading, just, almost like an autodidact where you learn yourself, you self-learn. I enjoyed that, and learning about as much as possible. Yeah,
Okay.
even the things I wasn't good at, I tried to learn, just because I had the curiosity. I think it's
Okay, now yeah, it's important. I totally agree. Now walk us through how you survived during that time. How did you pay the bills and what businesses were you
wow, yeah.
running and did you start? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, when I was really young, I was just doing odd jobs, landscaping business. We did that. I had a couple partners on that.
Okay.
Then I started my own fitness business, training. I
Ah,
did my certifications in fitness, and Had a really fun time doing that, meeting really interesting people. I learned so much from people. I mean, honestly, that's where I've been real lucky. And then I started, I think I was 24 when I started my first company in the sciences, and it was clinical research organization. And we would organize clinical studies for the Nutra and wellness companies. And that went really well, and we were able to have a nice little exit. For me, it was a nice exit.
Wow.
But getting there was a rough time. I mean, I remember I came to California, Northridge earthquake in, I want to say, was it 94 or something like that?
Okay.
Ended up living in my car for a couple of weeks
Are
because
you
my
serious?
house, my little apartment was red tagged. Oh no, true story. Had no money. Basically was using my money to build a business. And yeah, so I was training people at night. So I was doing,
I see.
burning the candle at both ends.
Well, you weren't married. Were you married then?
I was not married yet.
Okay,
No.
thank. Yeah, because I can just imagine she's like, "Hey, man, we can't live in this car. We can't."
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I didn't have a choice because all the hotels were taken, even if I had money for a hotel room. At the Northridge earthquake, in that area, I lived in that area. Everything was shut down, so it was a pretty interesting time. But yeah, you struggle, right? You go through it. That's what makes you stronger, and that's what teaches.
What was the name of that company?
The company I sold?
Yep.
Biochem.
Okay. All right. And so
Yeah.
you had an exit. You had a successful exit right there.
We did, yeah.
Not enough to retire, but enough to.
No, not enough to retire.
Enough
I don't think I could
to.
ever retire anyway, but
Right.
yeah,
Right.
it's but enough to really take that next capital and go into another company and another
Nice.
business. And then I decided I really enjoyed creating, but
Okay.
more on the science side. So got into formulations and development work for drug delivery technology, and looked at companies that had nice products, good products that needed line extensions or potential better ways to deliver their medicine to the body. And basically developed and started companies doing that in different, we did a nasal technology, oral technologies, you name it. And I basically built them up, and I've been able to have some exits on that side as well.
How did you meet these people to help fund you? Like you weren't,
That's a good question.
you weren't part of that quote crowd, right? You weren't, your family wasn't in that, investor crowd. You
Not
had
at
said
all.
how did you work yourself into this networking and group of people that had the money to help you start these things? How'd you do some of that?
Well, luckily it wasn't a pandemic at the time.
Right.
So people like working out and doing fitness. So I always kept my fitness training,
Okay.
business going. And it was just
Okay.
me, and I had one or two other people doing some training. But I met a lot of interesting individuals and really started networking with them.
There you go. Yep.
And one particular person liked what I was doing, and just kind of after a while we started talking about ideas, and he was interested in funding some ideas, and we got into it from that perspective and did well. So that was my first foray into taking investment money in, and with a partner and building a company, which was very
Great tip for the listener right there. I mean, really, a physical trainer kind of eating and paying rent, doing that with some of these ideas, then started a business, then met the right people to help you get it going, and then had the balls to ask them to be involved. Right. I can almost see you. I can almost see you pitching, like the guy comes over and you're like, "Hey, look, we're going to do your workout, but I got this idea and I need you to give me some cash."
Yeah, well, it's kind of like that actually. It's interesting, and it's funny because I was in the wellness space, right? Fitness and wellness kind of go hand in hand. So
yeah.
my business was wellness, and it made it a lot easier to surround yourself with people of like interest, if you will.
Okay.
So they had an appetite for putting investments into something they like. Obviously, that's what they're passionate about. They're working out and training. So I got lucky on that one. That was an interesting time, but a very nerve-wracking time because I take that seriously when you take people's money.
Absolutely.
I want to make the money. And that was probably the scariest, but most exciting time of my life.
Were you like that in high school and college? Were you just that guy? Were you that networking guy? Just like, hey, I know everybody. I can. No,
not at all. Not at
really,
all.
really.
I probably was more introverted than extroverted at that time, I think. Yeah. I was
Wow.
pretty much myself. I was always in I was always a deep thinker.
Okay.
Just, I don't know why I was too serious, I think, when I was younger.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Mm,
I didn't really socialize a lot. I played a lot of sports,
okay.
but I did not, as far as just being that social butterfly, if you will, that was
Yeah.
not me at all. I was quiet in
No.
class. Yeah, I didn't really hang out a lot. So I was pretty much like to read a lot. That I was very into that and sports. So
But that extrovert has come out more now. Like now, your personality is definitely a lot more open. I mean, I've watched some interviews that you've done and stuff. So you've definitely worked on the whole EQ and the people skills and the shaking hands, kissing babies when you need to,
absolutely.
all that stuff.
Well, I enjoy it. I mean, it's funny because you don't know how much, fun or energy you can get from people, until you do it. Right. And, yeah, I think in college is when I started opening up a little bit. And then when I started how
Okay.
to talk and present my ideas to
Hmm.
investors, well, you really better be a little more extroverted, right? You at least
Yeah.
be at a better level.
Uh,
But so yeah, so I took that leap. But it's scary. I still do a lot of presentations, scientific presentations or
yep.
business presentations, and you're still nervous in the beginning.
Oh,
But
you do a great job. You don't seem nervous. I've watched some of the videos on you. Now you got
oh,
it
thank
down
you.
now.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah,
Tell us then how you walked into let's walk into Cure Pharmaceutical.
Hmm.
Started I think it was 2011, I believe,
It
right?
was 2011. Yeah, yeah. It's a
Um
good story, actually.
yeah, walk us into how it all started and then kind
Yeah.
of up to where it's at today. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, I love to tell that story because it's a great backstory to Cure. I think we started in 2011, as you said. I had my team, my previous team, who's mostly still with me. We sold another company a technology that was used in a chloroseptic brand, if you're familiar with chloroseptic. And then we were doing some consultant work, took some time off, and my family and I, we typically go on a mission trip every year to
Nice.
a different country, more like a medical health mission trip. And, we'll work on clean drinking water or pharmaceutical,
Great.
healthcare centers, things like that.
Love
So,
that. I love that. But can we love that? Love that. Can you yeah, go ahead. And I bet that was great for your kids
oh,
growing up.
it's amazing. Amazing. It's changed my kid's life, absolutely. They both continue to volunteer and do things like that, which is amazing.
I think
So,
that's awesome. I think that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, thank you. So, we were on a mission trip and we were in Africa and, we were I think we were in Zambia at the time and came back, from Zambia. We hit a couple of countries, but I think the last country was Zambia that we went into,
Okay.
and really noticed that there's a need for better medications, and really didn't think about it too much. Yeah, except that I hate the way kids aren't getting the medications they need. More on the pediatric side was our focus. It always has been.
Okay.
Um, and then I got back, and in the true story, about a week later, my chief scientific officer, who was not at the time my chief scientific officer, he's an ex-Amgen scientist, called me. And he said, "Hey, Rob, I have an idea. I just got back from Africa." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, I just got back from Africa." I was in Uganda, and I was looking at malaria medication and how they treat patients right now, pediatric patients. Um, they ship 2 big bottles of powder, which is logistically a pain in the neck, to clinics, and
Okay.
they tell these people to mix these two actives together in clean drinking water. And
There's no clean drinking water.
ding, 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 right? So my chief scientific officer said, "Yeah, Dr. Ed Maliski," and I give him a lot of credit for the founding of the company. He said, "Look, I think we can put malaria medication on a thin film." He goes, "I know you did. My company at one time, Inozen, was the first company to put a drug active on a thin film.
I
We
see.
did that. We did it for chloroseptic. This was, in 2002. So we're talking about fast forward 9 years later.
Okay.
The technology was very limited at the time. So he came to me and said, "Look, I think we could put these malaria medications that are very unstable on a thin film, and kids can just take it. They don't need water, and it gets into their body." So I said, "I don't think that's going to work. I think it's very difficult. The technology's not there yet." He
Mm.
goes, "No, we'll develop the technology from scratch. We'll take you what your foundation, and we'll take and build on that foundation." And I was pretty much not convinced, to be honest. But to his credit, I mean, he would call me, I don't know, every other day saying, come on, let's do it. And we decided, okay, let's do it. We put some of our own money in and raised some money and started from scratch. I mean, there was really no platform. So we started from scratch working in the lab.
All right.
We had to buy lab equipment and all that. And we started the lab. Then we were able to develop a platform technology out of it that advanced quite a bit. The first 4 years was formulation and feasibility work.
Okay.
And then scalability. You think about, you can make something in a lab, but how do you make hundreds of thousands of units of that?
Right.
And there was really no equipment for our specific thin film or polymer systems that we utilize, not to get too much into the science. So we had to create it, and we had to co-design and develop and do all that. So it's been a long process, but about a year and a half ago, we started launching little pilot launches with manufacturing.
Okay.
And now this year, we're fully integrated. We're an FDA registered facility. We're a Schedule 1 DEA licensed facility. For those of you in the cannabis world, understand how important that is for research and manufacturing, mainly on the pharmaceutical side. That's our focal point.
Okay.
But we can research quite a bit of different molecules, you name it. I mean, we could do all of the molecules that are Schedule 1 and look to see if there's any therapeutic benefits. Like the mushrooms, psilocybin and things like that. We can actually, be able to research and do clinical research studies on that if we wanted to. So that was a big, not hurdle. That was a great milestone for us to get a DEA Schedule 1 license. So right now we're actually in launch phase for several products, and we are also in IND phase for a specific product that's on our website, sildenafil, which is generic form of Viagra. Taking it as a thin film. Are you familiar with what the thin film is?
I was just about to ask you. Talk about that a little bit. Go ahead.
It's a unique delivery system. It's everyone knows thin film as maybe Listerine strips.
The little Listerine strips that you used to put on your tongue. Yep.
Right. Now those can't deliver medicine because they're not as advanced technologically. So we created a similar looking dose form, if you will, that allows you to put actives and stabilize actives in this thin film. And look, you can carry it around. You don't need drinking water. It's great for emergency medicine. Stable for 2 years. I mean, so you have good shelf life. And then think about logistics, going back to the origin story, shipping, right? I can ship that into, any country and get it into clinics where hospitals don't have to give it. The patient can do it at home and administer it at home. So we're excited about that and developed it pretty far.
So the thin film, so the technology is the thin film, and then you're working to put all kinds of medications into it.
That's correct. That's
correct. Okay.
Yeah. And then we use, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we use different polymer systems that not every thin film is built the same, if that makes sense. So we build the thin film based on the molecule we're delivering.
I see. And is this all protected and patented? I mean, can other people make thin film to put medication on? How are you?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are other thin film companies out there. We do have a pretty good point of difference is that we can load a lot of active in one thin film and multiple actives in a thin film. Our technology is patented. We have, I want to say 15 issued patents currently. And about 25 pending maybe. So quite a bit of a robust IP portfolio. And we constantly are building on that because you learn as you go, right? And you're able to develop better technology. There's new technology, new polymer systems coming out that we can integrate, encapsulation technologies. You go into nano encapsulation. So really the holy grail for thin film is being able to deliver vaccines, right? Using thin film rather than injectables.
I see.
We believe that is the holy grail if we can do that. That's not an easy task, however.
So how does this tie to the cannabis world, and what percentage of your thin films are cannabis versus other medications?
Great question. So on the cannabis side, we're heavily involved and focused on the endocannabinoid system from a scientific standpoint. And that doesn't only have to be cannabinoid molecules. But I would say at least 40% of our efforts in research, development, formulation work goes to the cannabinoid world. Really stabilizing those molecules, creating better bioavailability, which means absorption into the body. So if you take it, you won't need to take 1,000 milligrams. So you potentially could take a lot less and get better absorption into the blood. That's
Oh,
important.
okay.
That's really
Okay.
important because
Okay.
Epidiolex, which is GW Pharma, did a CBD product that they got approved. First FDA approved cannabis drug, right? Plant-based cannabinoid, which is CBD.
Okay.
And it's a high dose that they have to take because the bioavailability is very low. So these kids are taking 1,000 milligrams a day. If we can help lower that dosing and excuse me,
Wow.
and increase the effectiveness, we think that's a huge benefit for the patient.
Wow. Now, in the beginning, were you thinking you were going to tie this to cannabis early on, or that just kind of happened later? You were like, no, we're creating this thin film technology to deliver medications, and then later on, you guys were like, wait a minute, let's make sure we jump on the cannabis thing too. Or how did that come in to play?
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, so interesting. 2010, 2011, 2010, I was looking at it before
Okay.
Cure.
Okay.
But in 2011 and 2012, we really started looking at a lot of the research from Israel on different cannabinoid molecules, the endocannabinoid system itself, which is fascinating,
Okay.
and the ability to modulate, immune system and other, inflammation. You think about lots of different things it can do. We were pretty excited about it, and we started looking at the molecules and realized they're difficult molecules to deliver. So if we could offer a better way, a better approach to stabilizing the molecule and
Mm-hmm.
delivering it, we
Mm-hmm.
felt that we would be, we could be the leader in that field for endocannabinoid delivery.
Okay. 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 So
So,
okay. Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, I was going to say, so as we were working on that and thinking that, we had a collaboration with Los Angeles Children's Hospital.
Okay.
And, one of my friends, and she was a COO of Cure. Later on, I brought her on as part of the team. She worked at Children's Hospital, and those collaborations, we started looking at cancer patients and parents allowing their kids to take cannabis during chemotherapy, and the effectiveness of, the pain relief and the anti-nauseousness, and actually some interesting results happening from a recovery standpoint. So it was very interesting, and that really put us to the next stage and say, okay, we got to get involved. Let's spend a lot of money and time on that. And we actually have a research and development, collaboration with Technion Institute out of Israel for cancer. And we're looking at that, and we finalized some animal studies. We're getting into human studies, hopefully within the next 6 to 9 months. So.
Okay, very good. So who is your who's paying you? Is it the drug companies or the cannabis companies? What's the business model as it relates to who's paying you? Go ahead.
So we have several verticals. You can imagine a platform delivery lends itself to multiple verticals.
Right. Yes.
Right. So
Yep.
I'll give you the quick outline on the verticals.
Okay.
We think it's great for pediatrics. So we have a pediatric vertical, or just kind of pharmaceutical vertical.
Okay.
We have which extends through pediatrics, geriatrics, hard to swallow pills, better delivery, pharmaceuticals. Then we have absolutely. And then we have the cannabis vertical itself, right? Because that's a different game. It's you have the wellness side with CBD from hemp. You have then you have the THC side. You have the 140 different cannabinoids in the plant that have potential therapeutic effect, which is why that's an exciting plant. So the cannabis vertical is itself. Each vertical, on the pharma vertical, we work with companies that want to deliver their actives more effectively. So they would pay us for formulations. They would pay us for milestones, helping them get through the regulatory process. They would also give us a license royalty back to use our technology once the product's developed. So we have it several ways. We maintain exclusivity on manufacturing, and we also get a royalty for the use of that product, for our technology in their product. Yeah.
but you're not a CPG company. Like you're not producing and packaging it and then sending it to them as a white label, or are you?
No, we can do that actually.
Okay. Okay.
We can do full manufacturing
Okay.
here.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
vertically integrated, so we can take something from feasibility all the way through to commercialization.
Awesome. All right. Very good. How big is the company
So,
now today? Well, go ahead. You were going to
no, I
say
was going to
something.
say, so to continue on the verticals, we had the pharma vertical, the cannabis vertical, and then
Okay.
a vertical is the wellness vertical, which is
I
just
see.
thinking delivering nutraceuticals, medical foods, things like that. That's a vertical as well. And then you have this vertical that I think is a company in its own. It would be the veterinarian vertical for dogs, cats. Delivering thin film, bacon flavored medication strips to dogs, or I don't know what cats like in flavors. So forgive me, maybe fish. I don't know, but putting the medicine in there, because it's hard to give pills to dogs. If
I totally agree. Absolutely. I think
yeah,
that's a huge opportunity right
yeah.
there.
So we like that vertical, and we're looking at that. We have patents in that area as well. Yeah.
Wow, so many opportunities then with these verticals. Okay, and so as of today, I know the company's publicly traded, right?
It is. It is. We're on
Okay,
the OTCQB. Yes.
okay, and how big is the company then? How many employees? 15, 20, 30?
We're about all in all with consultants and regulatory. I'd say about 25.
20,
And
20.
yeah, that's an important I think distinction too, with how we can manufacture and develop with not a lot of people,
Right?
because it's a highly scalable, small footprint approach.
Hmm.
And we try to integrate sustainable measures within the manufacturing processes. So you'd be surprised, on a 27,000 square foot facility, we could manufacture quite a bit of product. And
Hmm.
that's a beautiful thing, because you don't have that extreme overhead that pill manufacturers and other manufacturers have. And we love to transfer that cost savings over to the patients. So
So many opportunities now because it's a public company, and I can see the numbers online if you look it up.
yeah.
So you're still, correct me if I'm wrong, but the company's still at a quote burn rate, right? Like
Yes. Yes.
you're still scaling the business, working on technology, working on launching some of these verticals, and so it is. You're still burning cash, but do you have any idea? Have you projected out like, okay, well, we think we're going to be in a positive net income by X year, or you talk to me about that. I was looking at, I looked up the stuff
Yeah.
online. Like, okay, well, right now
Yeah.
they're burning cash, living off investor,
Hmm.
money, which they have to, which any typical situation like this would. But I'm just
Hmm.
curious as to what's your vision? Like, do you have the whiteboard where, 2024,
Yeah, we do.
you're going to, okay.
Absolutely. No, we do. So it's funny, because we are a drug delivery company, right? Technology company. So we don't have to go through, like a new chemical entity spending hundreds of millions of dollars to get a product approved. We go through an abbreviated process called a 505(b)(2) process pathway.
Oh,
So it's an abbreviated approach to getting approved. You're basically just taking actives that are already approved. We
oh,
know the safety profile, and we're putting them in a delivery system to make it more effective. So that's usually 24 to 36 months to get, all the way through the process.
okay.
We're pretty excited. We have the sildenafil product that we're working on, that we're hoping in 2000, with the pandemic now,
Mm,
2022, we launched that.
okay.
We think we have very big expectations for that particular molecule. It's a thin film, generic form of Viagra in a thin film. That's a faster acting, more convenient, potentially less dosing needed too to get the effect. So we're pretty excited about that product. And then we just launched
You
some.
can you can just go ahead and ship some of that to me right after we get off.
Yes, that's a common theme in in conversations. So and then we have the wellness side and the CBD side, that's really taken off. So we believe, within the next, we'll call it the 18 to 24 months, we'll be cash flow positive. So
Okay, very good. Okay, great. Well, so, wow, kudos to you for not only surrounding yourself with the talent you need to get this going, which you've basically done since you were a young person. You've been surrounding yourself with talent, and then bringing some of those same people along through your entities. So kudos to
yeah,
your leader.
thank you. Well,
Kudos.
that's a key message you just said. Really surround yourself with people that are a lot smarter than you. You might have that dream, and then you have to allow them to dream with you. Don't
Yes.
micromanage them. That's a big deal. A lot of
Agreed. I really respected that when I was looking you up and studying you before the podcast. I'm like, okay, so he's got some of these people have followed him, and yeah, you've been mentoring and coaching and letting them work as a team. I mean, yeah, kudos to you for that. And none of this happens unless you're able to raise cash.
that
So
is true.
at this
Yeah.
point, would you call yourself an expert at raising cash? Because you've done it a bunch now, and you've had to do it with Cure to keep it going. I mean, it doesn't happen unless you're having meetings with people saying, look, I have this idea. Here's the technology. We're going to have some patents. I mean, you've had lots of, give us your raising cash, overview. What's it been like for you? What have you learned? And what advice would you give people trying to do it? Big
Well,
question.
yeah, well, interesting. I feel like I've really not had a problem with raising cash, and I think it's because I think there's a common theme to
Okay.
that.
Okay.
If you're going out and you're raising money from investors, treat it like it's your own money, and treat them like they're your partner, because I think that's important. I also think the passion, don't raise money with things you're half passionate about. Only raise money if you're truly passionate about it and you're willing to put everything you have on the line with them. I think that's what sells and I've done that. We put our own capital in. It's public. You can look up my salary. I live in California. I'm not doing it for the salary. That's for sure. It's really about the passion, the commitment, and be transparent. That things don't always go the right way. And when it doesn't, get on the phone. There's not one time if an investor calls, I might not get back to them right away because I got about 100 calls going on, but I always make sure I have a direct line with the investors. And you're talking about, 1,000 investors, but if they call me, they email me, because we're public, right? You don't know who's trading your stock, but if people call and they want to talk, obviously we can't give out non-confidential, confidential information, but, I'm open to discussing, the philosophy and the strategy of the company with them.
When did you go when did it go public?
Yeah. So we went public in 2016.
2016.
Yeah,
2016. Okay. So you had obviously then you had this infusion of cash, which definitely helped over the last few years. Yeah. Big. I mean, that was a major hurdle for you, I'm guessing.
Big hurdle. We bootstrap some of the process early on.
You bootstrapped the roadshow, the quote roadshow.
Oh my goodness, it was. We did a lot as a pharma company or technology company. We've done a lot for the amount that we raised. I mean, if you look at comparison of other companies and pharma biotech companies, so the first, I want to say 5 years of life as a company for 5 years. I think we did everything on maybe $6 million. And that's 5 year runway, right? That's including building out facilities and labs and things like that. So we know how to run it lean. We respect capital when it comes in. To me, that's important. And to me, the shareholders are more important than anything else, right? The shareholders are your key stakeholders in the business. And then hopefully, the patients when we get the medications into their hands. I mean, that's really, but the passion, if you're passionate about it, you're transparent and trust, and people can trust you, you can raise the money.
I think it's got a market cap value of what, 88 million or something like that. I saw this morning.
Yeah, I think fully diluted we're probably about 95 to 100 million, but yeah, somewhere around there.
Good for you, man. Hey, congratulations. Congratulations. I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
how does that, out of all the things you've been through, you can wake up and go, all right, we're at 95. I mean, that's got to feel pretty good, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I didn't want to go public, but the rest of my partners and team and investors actually in the private company wanted to go public because they felt that you get a higher valuation that way, and more liquidity. So here we are, public. It hasn't been as bad as I thought it would be. No, there's just a lot more work, a lot more regulations and things you have to do, and you're running two different companies. You're running the technology drug delivery company, but then you're also running the public company, right?
Yes.
And those are two very different things. If you look at the stock price, sometimes during a down market, you want to slit your wrist, but you're excited about the technology on the other arm, right? On the other side. So it can be difficult.
I bet the first time you prepared for the quarterly board meeting after you went public, you were like, "Oh shit, this is a whole nother level."
Yes, I would think that's true. Yeah, yes. It was definitely, yes, absolutely.
What keeps you up at night the most right now, or maybe a better way to ask that question: what is the current biggest challenge you have, or biggest hurdle right now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I'll rewind to your first part of that question. What keeps me up at night?
Okay.
The potential difficulties in the economy, right?
Okay.
Coming up
Okay.
because of the pandemic. I would say that's an
Mhm.
alarming situation, because we do rely on other companies that want to develop technology further. I think that it's a double-edged sword. I think the pandemic, from an economic standpoint, may hurt the industry a little bit, but I also think it may help the industry in that I'm hoping as a country we start looking at bringing technology and manufacturing back in more and more, because we have shortfalls on not only protective equipment but also medication. And I think we can solve that by really spending more energy and time manufacturing in the U.S. and taking care of our population. So I think that's an exciting potential future, near future change, if you will.
I know the market right now with everything going on with the coronavirus has me worried too, and a bunch of other business owners. But I think, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'm feeling optimistic. I'm feeling optimistic. I feel like we're going to come out of it with everybody wanting to spend money and be active. And I don't know. That's just my gut feeling. My wife she works for TJ Maxx and Marshall's company,
Okay, yeah, sure.
and she's a manager for them. And I take the pulse of how people are feeling by what happened with her. I had a bunch of friends say, "Oh, it's really we're going to come out of this slow, and people are going to be like really nervous about getting out. It's probably going to start really slow." And I kept saying, "I don't know. I talked to a lot of friends that are just dying to get out. I think people are going to race to go places." And so I'm having this debate with my friends.
No, that's a good
And
debate.
my wife's, the day they reopened, and since they've reopened, they have been slammed. I mean,
Wow.
slammed busy. And I told her, she came home that first day, and I said, "I told you." I said, I just think people are just stir crazy and ready to roll. And
That's
so that's my
that's great news. I like that.
optimistic view. Yeah.
I like that. You made me
So
optimistic.
yeah, it's making me feel positive.
Yeah, I like it.
Congratulations getting the business where you've gotten it so far. I mean, really major accomplishment. Would
Thank you. I have
you,
a great team, so thank you.
by the way, I'm just curious, what's your dad say about the fact that you were going to touch cannabis, knowing that he was, in law enforcement his whole life? I'm just curious what he said.
That's a good question. When I told him, I emphasized that we're doing it under the federal guidelines, right? FDA, we're doing it as a pharmaceutical. So he was. It took a little bit of explaining, but I think he's on board. If we can help people, he thinks it's great. So
Awesome. My mother lives from Oklahoma, and she's super conservative. And the fact that Riderflex is a recruiting firm, the fact that about 30% of our volume is recruiting for cannabis companies, it's like her and I, like we just don't talk about it. Like it's just it's just a non-conversation. So we just pretend like it's not there.
we just have to show all the good stories, right? I mean,
Exactly.
it's
Yes,
amazing.
exactly.
Yeah, what some of this has done for patients has been amazing.
It's really incredible.
Yeah.
And we could do a whole nother podcast on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you had to give a piece of advice or mention a couple of things to any aspiring entrepreneurs out there that want to start their own business, what would you tell them?
You only fail when you quit.
Ooh, I like that.
I mean, that would be, because there's many times you start a company and it's not going your way, and it could be years, it could be 2 years, 3 years. You only fail when you quit. You keep going, because some of my best successes have been the ones I almost quit and decided, I'm going to give it one more push, and, been able to take it to the next level. So I think that's key. And then again, I think we hit on it earlier. Surround yourself with smarter people. Smarter people in areas that you're not smart in.
Right.
I think that's key. And let them go, right? Let them be who they are, because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we get so, focused on our dream and our concept of what it should be, that we don't allow other people to run with some of their dreams that can integrate very well into ours. So I think, it would help if you want to expand your abilities and your dreams, let them dream with you.
I love that. That's good stuff. Let me ask you just 2 more questions. I know we're almost out of time. So you're my age, graduate 85. By the way, I saw this great movie the other day, Blinded by the Light. It's a spin off of this kid that back in the early 80s, he got hooked on Springsteen music. Oh, okay. And the whole movie is he's got these cassette tapes of Springsteen songs, and he's listening to them, and it inspires him, and it changes his life, and it's got all the scenes in there from the 80s going to high school in the 80s. Right. And man, I was just sitting there. I was taking me back in time, Rob. It was taking me back.
I'm gonna go watch that.
Yeah, it's a good one. But if you had to call that young man coming out of high school back in 85, May of 85, you're calling him on the phone now, knowing what you know now, what would you tell him?
Oh, wow. Don't be afraid. Just go for what you believe in, because a lot of times I caught myself not doing the things I wanted to do, or, even give it a try because of fear of failure. It's again, I don't look at something not working out as failure until you quit, right? Until you stop. And
love it.
I would definitely put that message out there.
Love it. Last question. As you get older, I don't know for you, but for me, I find myself reflecting a little bit more and kind of thinking about I don't want to get too cheesy, but just thinking about life and like, okay, what's my purpose here, and how much longer am I going to be here, and what's my legacy going to be? You start thinking about that shit when you get older. And so I want to ask you, so now at this stage in your life, if you had to define your core purpose and put that into a sentence or two, and it was your professional core purpose, so not your family core purpose, right?
Sure.
So just kind of separating your family for a minute. Professionally, what do you think your core purpose is?
Wow. I'm a big believer in everything we do from a professional standpoint has to have a social impact, positive social impact. That's my purpose, whether it's healthcare, sustainability. I want to have that impact. Now, I don't feel like I'm there yet. I want to make it. I haven't done enough, and I want to do a lot more. And have that, hopefully, make a difference and have a profound, positive social impact on society.
I think you are headed that way, my friend, and you've been doing it really from the beginning, even all the way back to when you used to take your kids on the trips. By the way, do you still go on the mission trips?
We do. Well, not this year. We were going, but right. Yeah, we still do it. We do every year. It's not always with the kids because they have their own family now. At least my son does. My daughter comes with us. Yeah. But we do it. We do.
I really think that's special. We take so many things for granted here in this country, don't we, my friend? Oh my
Absolutely.
gosh.
I like I've learned more from them, from these trips, and from the people than anywhere else in my life. I mean, I'm grateful for them and their ability to teach me and humble me. So
yeah, very cool. Rob, thank you so much for being on the Riderflex podcast.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it, man. Great stuff. The Riderflex podcast features entrepreneurs, business executives, and the stories behind how they got there, as well as daily tips on career advice and job interviews. Our show can be heard just about anywhere these days, but you can visit riderflex.com and click on the podcast page to hear all the previous episodes and learn more about the recruiting and consulting services we provide. Contact us at the email address info@riderflex.com or 888-964-5876. Thanks so much for listening, and if you enjoy our show, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes.